It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the movie of June 19th, 1992. I say the movie because we only have one movie to look at today, and needless to say, it was probably the most anticipated movie of 1992 because it was the sequel to the movie that started the summer blockbuster bandwagon 3 years prior. It was a movie that was a huge hit everywhere. You couldn't go anywhere without Batman stuff all around, and I just told you what it was. But it's Batman Returns, with Michael Keaton returning, and you have Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman and Danny DeVito as the Penguin. Tim Burton is also back here as well, and he got more significant creative control on this particular project because he had no interest in wanting to do this movie before. But then when he was kind of forced into it anyway, but he only agreed to return if he got significant creative control, which, I mean, why not? I mean, he'd already established his name at that point after he did this and the original Batman and then Edward Scissorhands. So, Batman Returns, does it live up to the hype of the first movie? It's tough to say, but I'll explain more once I show you the trailer. Here it is, Batman Returns. So yeah, like I said, this was the most anticipated movie of 1992. It was supposed to be the big benchmark of the summer movie season. It was supposed to be another huge hit, just like the first Batman movie was. The end result was not quite what they had in mind. While it's not a complete mess overall, the movie is a massive disappointment compared to the far superior first film. I mean, you have a pretty good scriptwriter in here with Daniel Waters, who had just come off of writing Heathers, one of the best dark comedies ever, and you still had Keaton in the role, and he was still great in there. Really, what I think the movie comes down to, it's a couple of things. One is the villains. One, Danny DeVito, which, I mean, he was perfectly cast as the Penguin, but the way he acts and the way he's represented here, that's not the Penguin. I mean, it really isn't. The Penguin is not supposed to be this hideous freak of nature. He's supposed to be a gentleman of crime, a fancy guy who appreciates birds and high-tech umbrellas. And as with many of the other Batman movies, I think the animated series that came out just a few months later stays closer to what the Penguin really is. I mean, with a charismatic voice voiced by Paul Williams, too, I mean, that's a better representation of the Penguin than it is in this movie. I mean, this is why Burton should have really read up on these characters before making the film, because this was not the Penguin by any means, but, I mean, in terms of casting, I mean, I don't know who else you would have cast besides Danny DeVito as the Penguin. I just wish they would have fixed the character up better. But, two, you can tell when a movie series is not trying anymore, when they try to add more than one villain, and they give no real reason to be in the film whatsoever. I think this film really is the perfect example of that, where you have this trend beginning with, because you not only have the Penguin and Catwoman, but you also have Christopher Walken as Max Schreck, whose main plan is to build a power plant that will drain Gotham's power supply. So, we have three villains with three stories going on, and unless you have the right writers to make it all come together well, the film just becomes overcrowded, and that's exactly what happens here. It kind of reminds me of Spider-Man 3. It kind of reminds me of Spider-Man 3, really. And, like, the way they packed all those villains in there, it's just like, you didn't really need to do that. But really, Spider-Man 3 was not Sam Raimi's fault. That was mostly Avi Arad, the producer of that, and the end result spoke for itself. And, actually, a better example probably would be The Amazing Spider-Man 2, because they pretty much did the same thing all over again, except even worse than Spider-Man 3. Another reason I don't think the movie works is Catwoman, and I mean, Michelle Pfeiffer's perfectly cast as Catwoman, even if Burton doesn't follow the story from the comics, but, you know, when Pfeiffer becomes Catwoman, she actually does a really good job capturing the role, up until the end, where she just decides to go over the top for no reason whatsoever. I mean, they really ruined something great with that performance when they just tell her just go over the top with it, and it really makes no sense to the context of the story, which that's another big problem with the movie, is that the story goes all over the place, and there's never a point where it slows down or anything. Things just keep happening over and over. Like, you don't really know what the Penguin's real plan is, because at first it's like, I want to find my parents. Now I want to run from mayor. Oh, I can't do that anymore because Batman caught me up. It's got me out. Now I want to kill all the kids of Gotham City. Oh, Batman stopped me there. Okay, now I'm gonna have all these penguins march in Gotham and take the kids themselves. It's just like, nope, Batman stopped you there, and it's just like, what's the point of having him in is having the story going on if you don't have a central idea of what you want your main characters to do? Like, there are so many plot points and random twists and turns that happen here and serve no purpose whatsoever. And some of them actually create continuity issues and plot holes. And one of the other reasons why this movie doesn't work is that it's unpleasant and nasty to watch at times. I mean, let me put it this way. After watching this film, McDonald's had every right to pull all of its Batman Returns toy lines that they had because of some of the nasty stuff they pull in this. And it's just so mean-spirited and unnecessary. I mean, to the movie's credit, though, it's not a complete mess, and I've seen much worse from the Batman movies, but there are things in here that are actually great. Again, the set pieces are very nice. I like the visuals. I like the way they mix practical and CG effects here. I mean, Michael Keaton, once again, is badass as Batman. I do like Danny DeVito's performance and his memorable lines in here. And I do like Michelle Pfeiffer in here. I mean, and even Christopher Walken, I thought liked his over-the-top performance, because it's a typical Christopher Walken performance that he has in this. But overall, yeah, Batman Returns really is one of those movies where it just doesn't have that same spark that the first movie did. It kind of falls into sequelitis territory. I still kind of enjoy it, but looking back on it, it has a lot of problems from its confusing story, too many villains, and just how much shock value Burton tries to throw in here just by throwing these really grotesque scenes that make you wonder what kind of drugs he was taking when he was making this film. If it was more like the first film, it would have been great, but for what it is, it's a big disappointment compared to the first film, and it led Warner Brothers to hand off the directing helm off to another director for a much safer Batman movie, which would come in 3 years from now, and we will get to Batman Forever when we get to that one. As far as Batman Returns goes, I still kind of enjoy it, but it could have been a whole lot better if they fixed a lot of the problems with the script. They didn't go completely insane with it, and the villains acted like the villains, and they actually had a real purpose here. But as it is, it's just okay for what it is. So, but definitely a major step down from the first Batman movie. So that's my full thoughts on Batman Returns. So on that note, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. Next time we meet, we'll wrap up June 1992. We'll wrap up a week of new episodes. And we'll look at 2 movies, including Unlawful Entry with Ray Liotta and Kurt Russell in it. And we'll also look at the re-release of Disney's Pinocchio, which, considering we just had the live-action remake, I'm going to tell you right now that the animated classic still holds up. But we'll delve more into that one once we get to that episode. So, thank you guys for watching this one. And as always, if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page. Check out the previous episode. And I'll see you guys tomorrow for another episode. So thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. And until then, as always, take care.